Hello, Virgo, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you're having a great day. This will be your weekly reading for the week of April 19th through the 25th. And during that time, we mostly have a waxing crescent moon, and that's a time of heightened senses. We're starting to work on those things that we started during the new moon. So we're making plans and starting that work and starting those projects and trying to live up to our expectations and our intentions. We then have our first interrupter of the month, which is the first quarter moon, and that comes in on the 24th or 25th, depending on where you are. And it might just be a few hours. It might not even be the whole day, but it's kind of that little mini full moon energy where you feel impulsive and patient. Your mind's active. You feel like you can't buckle down and get anything done. You're just resistant to work. You might feel frustrated. So remember that that's coming. Make the appropriate plans to either face that and learn how to dominate those impulses, or to just relax during that time. Just know that there's a time coming when you're going to feel frustrated. You just need to get up, walk away, and go do something else. So keep those moon energies in mind, Virgo, as we move through the week. This will be an intuitive general reading for energies that you may or may not encounter. So, as always, please take what resonates and leave what doesn't on the table for someone else. And your overall message, Virgo, is that a personal issue reaches resolution. Okay, let's see what the Virgo Collective has going on this week. As I'm shuffling the tarot, my fun weekly reminder this week, Virgo, is that you get out into nature. So, I don't know if you're like me, but we're in the Midwest and we're just starting to have beautiful, warm weather. It's been so lovely. I was out there this morning just enjoying the birds, and it's just beautiful. It feels so good to not be cold and wintry. So, if you have a park with a lovely view, or even your own backyard, or if you're near water, if you can get by the ocean somewhere, or hear the lapping of the lake shore, just get out there and enjoy nature a little bit this week. That is just my reminder for you. So, whoops, we've got cards trying to turn around, but that's a little much. So we'll put those back into place. Anyway, we'll get into this reading here, Virgo. So April 19th through the 25th, a personal issue reaches resolution. And your overall present energy right now is the Three of Pentacles. So some personal issue, it might be work related, might be something going on where you're collaborating with others on either some creative project, work project, could be just be a personal project, but there's maybe some issue that's been going on with that, and we're going to watch that resolve through this reading, I'm sure. Your current situation right now is the Empress. So maybe you are, collaborating on something that's kind of long term. This could be something about your house, because we're dealing with pentacles. It could be that you're making long-term decorating decisions. Maybe you're painting or doing some remodeling or something. And there could be some issue, some personal issue that comes up for you while you're doing this. A lot of times, we're learning as we're doing life, right? So, maybe you find that you're not as flexible as you might need to be. Wow, that would be a shocker for a Virgo, right? That you're not being flexible, little perfectionistic Virgo. And don't worry, I'm saying that as a person who has a lot of Virgo in their chart. I tend to be this way myself. Lots of things that I do have to let go. So sometimes, we're doing these creative things in our home and we do need to let go. It's like the process of the thing that you're working on makes you realize that you're being a perfectionist. You're being a little bit of a stickler on something. So if that's something, then just let it go. I've had to do it myself. I know it's not easy. We can all do it, right? At the root of your situation, Virgo, is the Two of Wands here. So Two of Wands is about you're achieving a goal. It's like you've done the thing, and now do you want to stay there or you want to go bigger? And for this example that I'm using, and I used a long-term home improvement is like, imagine that, and I've recently done this too. Imagine that you're choosing a paint color to paint a big room. That's going to hang around for a minute. It's not like you're going to change that next year. If you're like me, that's going to be up for, good 10 years, which is something I just did. So, you do want to, I'm always thinking very long and hard about what colors do I want to look at for the next 10 years. So, but that's what I mean by the Empress is you engage in something that is like a long-term decision, much like parenthood. This is the card of mothering. Of course you make that decision, that's going to go on for quite a while. 9 months, and then raising a child all the way into adulthood, that's a big commitment. But this is kind of the same thing. This is about making a commitment, and maybe in this case, it could be to something more pentacle related than parenting related. Anyway, at the root of this is you achieve some goal and you think, okay, do I stay here or do I want to do more? And in this example of home remodeling, it would be like, well, okay, I've got these rooms painted and I did this thing. Do I want to now get this other room out and do it? Right. So you're going to kind of make a decision about your future there. That was a lot of words to say that. I'm so sorry if I'm a little rambly today. In your recent past here, Virgo, as you're coming into this in a very happy way, of course, when we're happy, that's when we do make positive changes like this in our life. It's like no one's sitting around being sad and going, well, I'm going to repaint my room. Nobody does that. When you're happy, that's when fun changes start to happen. Um, anyway, so you're coming into this with a good attitude. Let's try to maintain that good attitude, and let's see what is this personal issue. What is it that brings up? What does this bring up for you? That is something that you do need to overcome. On your mind this week are all the different choices. When you're doing things like this, you do have to narrow down choices. Again, I'm using this home remodeling as an example only because I've been through it. And yeah, the choices are endless. It's like this and that and this color and this, what do you do with this? But it's just so many. And it seems like, though, when you're doing something like that and doing a project like that, once you start making decisions, sometimes the very beginning of it is just overwhelming because you feel like, oh, there's so much to decide. But once you start making those decisions, the next decisions that come after just become easier. It just becomes like, oh, okay, well, it just all falls into line. So remember that. Don't get too overwhelmed by it. What is just ahead of you this week is the King of Pentacles. So now you've got the king coming into, the king is about having the knowledge of how to just manage all of this, whatever's going on. The king knows if you can do the next project or not. So that's ahead of you. And that's maybe you get to that as some thought where you feel like you're just kind of in charge, where you feel like, again, these decisions, you're like, oh, what am I going to do? And then all of a sudden there just becomes a time when you're like, okay, we've got this under control. I understand what's going on. It all makes sense to me. And that's a good way to be. And that could be the issue that just resolves that you're feeling like, I can't make all these decisions. And by the end of the week, you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm not as, my mind's not as crazy as it was earlier. And your advice position is to take that recognition that comes in, the people that are like, oh, in this case, look what you've done. This project that you're working on looks so great. I can't believe that. I take that. There's going to be people that mention it, and that's kind of the fun part of it, is that you do a thing and it's an accomplishment and other people are recognizing it. So good feeling. And that is in your advice, that because that's in your advice position, it's like, go ahead and take the compliment, Virgo, that you guys can be so perfectionistic and self-critical that it's hard when other people, you need to just say thank you, just very quietly. Thank you very much. I appreciate you noticing that. That's lovely. What is beyond your control this week? King of Wands. King of Wands. So much like King of Pentacles, it's about the knowledge of. So this is you. It's beyond your control to just have that knowledge, to feel like, oh, I know what drives me, what lights me on fire, what excites me to get done. Look at all the choices you've made and all the things. And was that exciting? I mean, there's a lot of wands going on in this scenario here. You've got the wands of the making the decision, the wand of the recognition of it, and now you're like, okay, I'm good, I've nurtured this thing and I like where it's going, right? Much like the king, you kind of just feel that accomplishment at the end of the week. All right, what is your secret desire, or what are you trying to avoid? The Lover's card. So during all of this, are you trying to please a partner in this, or are you trying to avoid a partner in this? So, maybe this is your personal issue, is when you're doing this and you're in the mix of it, and are you consulting with that person maybe that lives with you and has to look at this paint also? So make sure that you are doing that. Make sure that this person is involved, or you're just, maybe is that your secret desire? You might just be trying to avoid that altogether. Like, no, this is my realm, this is my decision. There's no right or wrong here, but at least ask that question of yourself to understand who you are in that scenario, so that moving forward. And again, is that a personal issue for some of you? Maybe. Um, I totally get it. Again, I've got a lot of Virgo on my chart. I totally get it. But ask yourself that question, Virgo. In your outcome position here is the Eight of Swords. So there's some situation that maybe arises out of all of this. Again, is this personal issue? You can think your way out of it. So watch out for that this week and see what it is that comes up and see if you can resolve that. Now you've had a little heads up here from a tarot reading to let you know that that's coming up for you in your energy, right? What is hidden from you this week is the Hermit. Okay, so I feel like you're not yet taking time to go within, maybe even on this personal issue. It looks like you're reaching a resolution. It's certainly not because you're going within. It might just seem to be obvious when it comes up. So I'd be real curious to know that. And this might take you into next week also. It might be that this issue just comes up and now you've got to resolve it. Do you maybe use this Hermit next week to help you resolve it? Do you have to go in to ask yourself some questions? I would come back next week and let's see if this Hermit card makes an appearance in your next week's reading. But, the outcome here is that there is some situation that arises, and just know that you can think your way out of it, even this week. So, all right, let's get you a final message here from the Soul Oracle deck. Final message for Virgo as they deal with this personal issue. And again, tarot is a template. I've used like a house remodel as an example, but understand that this can template over so many different energies. So whatever it is that you're working on long term, that you're making all these choices about, are you considering your partner when you're making those choices? You need to think about that. All right. Final message here for you, Virgo. Don't push the envelope. Interesting. Could be here also. You might think you know a thing. You might think that you're not consulting someone, but maybe don't push that envelope. They may actually want to be consulted, kind of depending on what you're doing and who you're dealing with there, especially in the romantic realm. All right, let's see. Self-care wisdom card. Oh my goodness, my hands today. The deck's flipping over on me. Wisdom, self-care wisdom card for Virgo. It's a lot of, that was a tongue-tie situation there. Okay. April 19th through the 20th. There it is right there. Okay. The card that you get is the card called Risk. Take a chance. Every risk is a success when you're committed to learning and growth. And that's what I was talking about. Whatever the situation is, sometimes we're dealing with, some situation at work and you're dealing through, and it's like a personal issue does arise where you're thinking, oh, I don't know how to I don't know how to deal with this kind of person, let's say, as an example. And this, whatever you're working on, has brought this issue up and just brought it to the forefront where you have to now deal with it and go, this is a work thing, but now it's kind of personal because, you're learning something about yourself. So just learn those things, be observant. That's what being conscious is all about. It's that, learning that, oh, I do this and maybe it's not the nicest thing that I do. Maybe I need to change how I manage that or change how I deal with people. And it's a change that starts within you. So Virgo, thank you so much for being here. I do hope there's something you can take away and use in this reading in a positive way in your life. If you're comfortable sharing, of course, drop me a comment down below and let me know if any of this resonated with you, or if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer this for you. Also, if you like my reading style, hitting like and subscribe really helps me. I appreciate that so much from you. So thank you so much in advance for doing that, Virgo. Also, it'll help you find me next week where you can come back and we can see if this Hermit card does reappear for you next time. So thanks so much again, Virgo. Good luck with this, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.